Hi everyone, this is Debbie, one of the directors and co-founders of Camp Aquila, and I wanted to spend some time today talking to you about what we call post-camp September blues. After we get our own daughters settled back into our school routines here at home, I spend most of the fall talking to families about camp and how their campers are adjusting to their own schedules back at school. And I often hear that parents are a little bit confused or surprised that after a wonderful summer at camp, their children come home and are displaying lots of new talents. They're eager to talk to friends or text with friends. They're even doing things like making their own beds without prompting and aren't spending as much time on social media or on their electronics playing games. And parents are thrilled. And then September comes along, and sometimes those skills seem to fall by the wayside. And kids become less interested in socializing with camp friends and get back into some of their old habits. And so the question is often posed to me, what happened? Did the magic of camp wear off, or did something actually happen? And my answer to that question is both. I think that for a lot of our campers, when they return home, there are things that you as parents just can't mimic. We are really lucky. We have campers who live in a cabin with 7 other kids, and they have 4 counselors who are dedicated to just those 8 kids or 9 kids 24/7. And in addition, our campers are in a place where they don't have a whole lot of pressure placed on them. There are not a lot of demands besides the 24/7 social demands of camp. They can really focus on just that. Sure, they have chores to do in the morning, and they participate in, sort of community activities, but they're not in school, and that allows them to spend their days being outside. They're getting a lot of physical activity, they're getting a lot of fresh air, and really, at the end of the day, they're playing. And that's really important for all kids, but for our kids especially, it enables them to relax. And that relaxation, that ability to be themselves, really allows them to also be open to feedback that we give them and open to suggestions that they might chip in a little bit more or participate a little bit more than they do at home. They also benefit from what we call positive peer pressure, which means that they're living in a group of people. And so when it comes time to do an activity that they might even refuse to do at home or say that they don't want to do at home, when everyone else is doing it at camp, most times kids just sort of go with the flow and they end up trying things and often being successful at activities that they wouldn't necessarily be successful in at home or even try for that matter. Same thing with food. A lot of times parents, tell me that they, can't get their children to eat certain things at home. And then I explain to them that they actually did eat that same food at camp. So what gives? Well, I think that when a counselor sees a plate of, let's say, broccoli on the table and says, "Oh, broccoli, I love that. Pass that here. I want to have some broccoli. It's my favorite vegetable." Kids might even take a bite or try it. A child who says they don't eat anything green or any vegetables at home suddenly is trying a food that they weren't interested in. And I think that even the coolest parents might have a harder time than some of our staff getting children to try new foods. So we have a lot of advantages that I know you can't replicate at home. So the first thing I want to say is cut yourselves a little bit of slack. And then I want to also say that, yes, something actually does happen. And what happens is that school starts. For a lot of our campers, school means that they're put into situations with kids who aren't always kind. And certainly even in the best case scenarios, they don't always feel like kids get them. That's really exhausting. That's hard. And also teachers sometimes are too demanding, or sometimes for our brightest campers, they're not demanding enough. And school can then become a place of stress. And then when kids get home, they don't have any more sort of emotional energy or space to do things that you might like them to do, like make their bed or reach out to a friend. And so it takes a little bit more effort to get them to do some of the things that came easily at camp and maybe right after camp before school started than it does after school starts. So here are some suggestions that I'd like to put forward. And I know that it takes a lot of energy and effort on a parent's part. And I know as a parent myself that it's exhausting. But I think sometimes putting the work up front a little bit with your kids ends up being easier in the long run. So establishing routines at home like we do at camp is really helpful and important. I think that when kids come home from camp, as much as you can continue on with the camp schedule, that's really beneficial. And our family camp parents have told us that that's been helpful for them as well. So we're happy to share that with you, or you can get it off of our website. For example, everyone at camp showers at 5 o'clock. So maybe that's a routine that you can keep in place. You can also maintain a steady wake-up time for your child. I was going to say camper, but they're not a camper when they're with you. And our routine in the morning looks the same every day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, no such thing as weekends. We get up and make beds, brush teeth, wash face, and then breakfast. So maybe you instill that same type of schedule at home. Whatever works for your family, if you write it down and have it as an established schedule, my guess is that that would be really helpful for your child. Similarly, having written down expectations. There's no reason why your camper, however old he or she is, can't make his own bed in the morning or help with laundry. Now, maybe you feel that your child isn't ready to do his own laundry, and that's fine, but they can at the very least fold their laundry and put it away neatly. That's something that they did at camp. And you can remind them that they were successful at those activities at camp. And then they can continue them at home. I often think for families who are struggling to get their children to eat new foods or to try things outside of their comfort zone, maybe things that are more healthy, sometimes cooking at home together is a really great way. So on the weekends when you have more time, ask your child to pick out a meal that they would like to make and then help them find the recipe, look at the measurements, maybe go grocery shopping together to get the necessary ingredients, and put that meal together. We often find in our cooking classes at camp that when kids make something to eat, that they're more likely to try it. And I think that that's true at home as well. And finally, on the from the social perspective, it's a lot of work to maintain a relationship with someone that you don't see every day. And I know that. And I think our campers know that as well. And so because it's not easy, because they're not people that they see at school every day or in their neighborhood, they tend to sort of run out of steam with their camp friends after, a few weeks of camp has gone by. So it really does take some pushing from parents to maintain those relationships. And I would encourage you to talk to your child about how worthwhile it is to maintain relationships even if they are long distance. You might want to teach them how to use FaceTime or Skype. Make sure they have their own Google account, Gmail account that you can monitor, so maybe they can start emailing with other campers. But in any case, whichever of those situations works for you and your family, they're going to need to be monitored, but they're also going to need to be pushed to make sure that they're maintaining those relationships. And again, I know it takes effort, but I think it's worthwhile in the end. And finally, feel free to call us. Sometimes, we have some ideas that you might not have thought of. We've been doing this for a really long time, have talked to a lot of parents and a lot of kids. So maybe we can brainstorm together and come up with some suggestions. We really want your campers to feel the sense of pride and accomplishment that they did at camp. We want them to maintain those relationships because we saw how important they were for the 3.5 weeks or 7 weeks that your child was with us. So anything we can do to help, we're happy to do. Thanks so much for listening, and we hope to talk to you soon. Take care. Happy fall.